What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another Bring the Juice Colts podcast live stream. Thank you all for tuning in on this beautiful Monday morning. I know it is not a victory Monday. Um, Colts have, been fortunate to have a bunch of those um, over the last month. And obviously today, not as much so. Not as much of a victory Monday for the Indianapolis Colts today. But I'm here, guys. Again, I'm still recovering from my surgery. So I just felt like I wanted to kind of, just have a freelance stream this morning. Wanted to talk with you, Colts Nation, about what we saw on Sunday and maybe have a little bit further discussion on it and talk about a few more things. But just want to say, for the people that are coming in right now, please be sure to like the stream wherever you're watching. It helps the algorithm, helps it get out to more people. So we greatly appreciate if you would hit that like button as you come in. Be sure to comment in the comment section. If I go off topic today or if there's other things that happen, um, then I'll maybe be able to go to the comments and chat with you guys a bit today. I do have a lot I want to discuss. And then also subscribe if you haven't already. Do appreciate everybody that's been helping out. I see all of you guys chatting in the chat already, so I greatly appreciate you guys hanging out here. And also shout out to FanDuel for sponsoring this stream. Guys, as it currently sits for the Colts game next week, the Colts are 6.5-point favorites against the Falcons in Berlin this next week. So for what it's worth, I mean, again, the Indianapolis Colts, they are heavy favorites in that one right now. But we will see as the week goes on. But right now, Colts are big favorites against the Falcons. So shout out to FanDuel for sponsoring it today. Anyways, so let's discuss again kind of what's happening here after today. So obviously the Indianapolis Colts, you lose 20-27 against the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road. And then, I think a lot of people were a little too high or a little too low on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that Pittsburgh is a very good football team. And I have a bunch of topics today. We're going to talk about this game. We'll mention, are the Colts in trouble? We'll talk trade deadline, and then we'll also talk about where we go from here. But right now we're focusing on this game. Here's the thing. So the 6 turnovers are the main talking point of what happened on Sunday, right? 6 turnovers in a game. I mean, that is astronomically bad, right? Of course. So of course that's going to get the main stripe on this, and as it should, right? I mean, you commit 6 turnovers and you're just like, whoa, I mean, what the heck, right? Like, I mean, what is going on here? Anyways, we'll kind of break it down as well here in this. So I want to just break it down piece by piece here to start this. So obviously, as this game started, the Indianapolis Colts in the first quarter and the start of the second quarter, it started to look like it was going to be another masterclass performance by the Indianapolis Colts. Because I mean, we break it down. The first drive for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they go 3 and out. And then the Indianapolis Colts go on a 13-play, almost 80-yard drive that took just over 5 minutes. And you're like, okay, this is starting to look like what it typically looks like for the Indianapolis Colts, right? And then Pittsburgh gets the ball back, right? And they go 3-and-out again. The negative 4 yards on that drive, too. And then obviously you saw Josh Downs commit a turnover by, not getting out of the way. And ends up having the ball hit him in the chest because he didn't want to catch it and then wanted to let it go, but he decided to do that a little too late. And then the ball ends up hitting him in the chest and then they recover, right? And I want to mention again, Josh Downs is typically not the guy that returns those punts. Anthony Gould obviously is the guy that typically returns our punts. He was not available in this game. So the Colts had to call an audible. And of course, they had a situation where Downs just is not used to being in that particular situation. And he messed up. He made a bad play, which in the grand scheme of things, obviously the Steelers, they got the ball and then they went and committed turnover on downs, which great job by the defense, not saying any way, shape, or form. Obviously, they didn't score, but Josh Downs committing that turnover was huge because that took your offense off the field for one more drive, and it put you further back, deeper in your own territory than what you needed to be because you committed the turnover, right? So, I mean, the Colts, if Downs doesn't have that happen to him, the Indianapolis Colts could have a situation where they might have the ball at the 15-yard line or maybe even the 20. And that's more distance away and it's a better situation. And your offense is out there now versus your defense having to try to battle it out. So then there's that. But the defense ultimately gets the stop, right? And the Colts are marching down the field 14 plays and got just over 50 yards. So they were methodically, very slowly getting up there. And then obviously that is where it starts to just fall apart from there. Fumble, you obviously had the strip sack. TJ Watt was a handful for Braden Smith to handle all game long. And then obviously the strip sack in that regard. And then Pittsburgh goes down. They score because they get the ball at their own 44-yard line. They get great field position to start the drive, right? And then obviously the Colts get the ball backed up into their own territory. And obviously we saw the interception. Kurt Warner had a great breakdown of that play. He stated that the running back in that play, because the linebacker was shadowing the running back coming out of the pocket, but because the running back was late getting out, the linebacker didn't trail with him. So he stayed with Daniel Jones's eyes because the guy was supposed to be trailing with Taylor, but because Taylor was late getting out, the linebacker didn't have to move very much. And then ultimately he sunk right in. That play was supposed to go to Josh Downs or Pittman in the middle. I couldn't remember who it was. And then Daniel Jones, because the concept is he's supposed to throw it there. And he made that ultimate decision because he thought the linebacker was trailing, but he didn't. And it sunk right into his lap. So that was obviously a bad turnover. And then, of course, the Steelers scored 2 plays later because they got the ball at the 14-yard line. And then after that, Colts go 3-and-out. And then one of the only real drives in which the Steelers had to make something happen all their own was the field goal that they had to travel the entirety of the field to get to. They had a 12-play, 75-yard drive to end the half. Because again, the two previous scoring drives for Pittsburgh in that half, they had great field position to start because they got the forced fumble, right? And then the interception, obviously, on the next drive, which put them right inside the red zone from the jump, right? So that makes sense. And then obviously, Colts get the ball to start the third quarter. And then you punt it after 7 plays. And then the Colts defense gets another stop. And then the another interception that Daniel Jones threw. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, so it was the play in which it was a RPO read. Obviously, given the grand scheme of things, you felt like you probably should have just let that one run. But obviously, Daniel Jones felt he could make that play, which, I mean, that really was a bad decision because, first of all, had Wilson not been there in the first place, well, let's just say that. I mean, Wilson obviously is running straight at you, right? So that was your first mistake to pull it, knowing that Wilson is coming straight at you. And you could have, there's just no need to throw that, right? Because you hand that to JT, it's 2nd and 1. You could have handed that off. And it was the first drive that the Indianapolis Colts were running the football. And that we were running the football really well. And then pulling it at the last second is just, it's insane. So, and then, of course, even if Wilson wouldn't have been there, I don't even know if Pittman would have caught it because he got hit as immediately as he came out of that curl. So, all in all, again, we saw 2 bad plays so far from Daniel Jones. 2 bad plays there. I wouldn't have done it, but it is what it is. And then obviously, Steelers get the ball at, the 44-yard line again. So another position where they are in great situation to handle. So anyways, so then the Colts actually get a field goal in the 4th quarter to start. And then here in a situation where you make the Steelers go 3 and out. You make the Steelers go 3 and out. You have a chance here. There's about 10 minutes left, almost 10 minutes left in the 4th quarter. You're only down 2 scores. You could have had a situation where things went, if you went down the field, you could have made something happen there. And then obviously the second strip sack of the game, this time Highsmith coming off the left edge. And that was a strip sack. And then that ended all hope. Because then the Steelers get a field goal. And they got 2 score. And then they're up 3 scores. And then obviously the Colts, they went quickly down the field to score a touchdown. Obviously, the Pittsburgh Steelers weren't trying very hard at that point. They were just trying to prevent the Colts from getting down the field super quickly. Did take the Colts just under 2.5 minutes to do so. And then obviously, you saw the Steelers, they had that fumble, and you're thinking to yourself, wow, I mean, if the Colts score very quickly, I mean, there's a shot. And then the last interception where Pierce fell down at the top of his route, and it was another one. So, I mean, again, so this was, and so Here's my thing about this, right? The reason I don't want to overreact to this game was because this was the highest rate of pressure that Daniel Jones has faced all season long. Um, Even when you include the games against Denver, you include the games against the Chargers and against the Cardinals and all those other teams that can get pressure on the quarterback. This was the one where he was under duress. Even last week, when he was sacked 3 times against the Tennessee Titans, he was facing much more pressure against the Pittsburgh Steelers than any other opponent that he has this year. And again, I'm not insinuating that this isn't a that obviously I'm not excusing the fact that he had a bad game. He clearly had a bad game. But I just want everyone to understand this. It was 6 turnovers to 1, okay? But I just want to say this, okay? Let me read some of the overlying team stats for you guys. Just 1 second. The Colts had 143 more yards than Pittsburgh did all game long. They had 9 more first downs. They had 3 less penalties. They were far more efficient at converting third downs than Pittsburgh was. The Colts were 5 for 5 on fourth downs. The Colts scored on both of their red zone drives that they went on and still held the time of possession in this game. So here's the thing. The Colts beat the Steelers in every statistical category outside of efficiency from Aaron Rodgers and Daniel Jones, obviously. So this truly just was a game in which the Steelers had taken the ball away so many times and were granted so many short fields for this situation. That's why they won this game, just because the Colts turned the ball over a lot. And so ultimately for this game, that's really what it was. It's just came down to the fact that Daniel Jones and the offensive line were not playing well. Now, I will say this as well. 2 other things that I think, one that fans definitely have said constantly, and I agree. And another thing that I think people are just kind of forgetting. First thing that everybody's saying, Shane Steichen did not call a good game. Shane Steichen did not call a great game today or yesterday. He had numerous situations, especially in that second half, where we were throwing the football all entirely too much. Obviously, the Colts did not do a great job of getting Jonathan Taylor going. Now, I would say this. That front for the Steelers, I mean, they were bailing on him, man. They were putting everybody in the box to stop Jonathan Taylor. And it was working. It was working. Cameron Hayward was a load to deal with yesterday for Quentin Nelson. Obviously, the guys on the edge were too much for everything. All in all, while I don't think it was the worst game plan that we ever had, it was not a good game plan. It was just a situation where I do feel that earlier in the game, we could have put a little more emphasis on trying to run the football. But here is my other thing, right? I think another thing too that people weren't recognizing about the game plan that Shane Steichen was calling yesterday it felt like we kind of got away a little bit from what we typically do. Where was all the underneath stuff? Where was all the where was the screen passes to Tyler Warren? Where was the trying to get Josh Downs in underneath stuff? Like, where was those? There weren't a ton of those in this game. I just felt like almost everything that we were trying to do, almost everything had to be 10, 15 yards down the field. It kind of had resemblance to last year where, you know, what was a knock on we had Shane Steichen last year was uh it felt like, yes, Anthony Richardson wasn't hitting the underneath stuff, but it felt like everything had to be downfield. And it felt a little bit like that yesterday. It felt like the Colts were trying to continue to just keep getting big plays all the time instead of just getting people out in open space in the underneath stuff. Because that was another thing people don't understand. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they changed their defensive philosophy a lot last week or this week because of a bunch of new players that are coming in and because of just how bad the defense has been for the Steelers. They played a lot more zone this time around than they typically do. They usually are man to man. People follow motions and all this other stuff. And the Steelers didn't do that as much against the Colts this week. They changed it up. They changed up their defensive scheme, and it was different, I think, than what the Colts were anticipating. And it led to some situations where the quarterback made bad decisions and the scheme did not align with what was best to handle that particular situation, right? So obviously there's that. So obviously Shane Steichen and this team just were not prepared and they made a lot of mistakes. Daniel Jones, yeah, he gets an F for the day, no question. I mean, that obviously the worst game of his season by a long shot. And then obviously Jonathan Taylor, that's a D, not a great performance from him. I mean, obviously we can't really do too much with him when it comes to that, when you don't really give him a chance. And the offensive line obviously gets an F in this too. I mean, you can't give up 5 sacks, have your quarterback getting hit 30% of the time, and, give up 2 strip sacks. I mean, and not be able to run block consistently either. So, it is what it is. The offense in general, which sucks too, because I mean, obviously, when you look at players like Michael Pittman, who had a great game yesterday, Alec Pierce, who had a great game yesterday, and Josh Downs, if you take away that fumble that he had, or the turnover that he had, then we could say he offensively had a great game yesterday. So it's hard for it's a hard feeling right now. It is a hard feeling because again, you talk about, I'll mention it here later when talking about where the team goes from here or if they're in trouble. So, but again, Pittman and Pierce, they stepped up. And Downs even had a decent game too at times. As far as everything else goes, though, I mean, the offense just was not good. It was not good from the offensive line, the quarterback, the play calling, all of it. Anyway, and then from the defensive standpoint, again, I got nothing bad to say about the defense. I mean, again, the Steelers, let's just say this. So The Steelers did not score any points until midway into the second quarter. Okay. Even when the Indianapolis Colts put the defense in the red zone to start a drive, and the Colts were still able to get a stop. And then they started their first drive in the second quarter at the 44-yard line of Steelers 44-yard line. That's great field position. And then the next drive after that, you put them back in the red zone again. So the Colts in the first half had one, two, three drives where the Steelers either started from the 45-yard line or were starting in our red zone. And so, of course, you're going to have those situations where you're going to end up scoring some points. Of course you are, because the battle of the field position is insane. The only drive, like I said before, the only drive that the Steelers deserve true credit for being able to go the length of the field is that last drive of the first half where they had to go 75 yards. So that's really it. I mean, that's the only one that they really get credit for, in my opinion. And then obviously in the third quarter, there was only one drive that the Pittsburgh Steelers got, and they had to punt. And then, I'll give credit, a slight bit of credit to the Steelers for the fourth quarter, but then again, that other strip sack or the interception, the other interception. And they started that drive again at the 45-yard line. So they were practically at midfield when they started the drive. And then you make them punt again, and then you have the other strip sack, which again puts you in Indianapolis territory inside the 35-yard line. So almost half the drives that the Steelers had in this game, they were either starting at midfield or they were starting in our red zone. So it's just not so I mean it's a big issue with that. And for the defensive standpoint, a couple guys that really stood out. DeForest Buckner had a solid game. Latu had a very good game this week. Jalen Jones, it was great to see Jalen Jones back playing this week. I mean, he was definitely very good. That penalty at the end, I get it. You're not supposed to throw hands. They always get the second guy. But yet Metcalf was the one that when that play was ending, put Kenny Moore on the ground and then is standing over him with a hand down on him, keeping him down. He's keeping him down. Even at the end of the play, he is keeping him down on the ground, not letting him get up, and he's talking trash to him. And the official is standing 5 yards away and is just letting this happen. And then Jalen Jones sees it, comes from the other side, and pushes Metcalf off of him, gets in his face, has his hands there, and then Metcalf is like, "Oh, I'm not doing anything." Oh, and then even after that, guys, even after the flag was thrown, Metcalf was bragging to the official about doing that to Kenny Moore. And yet, no flag, never, not at any point. There's no taunting there or unnecessary roughness either. Like, that's what they called Jalen Jones for. So in no way, shape, or form can I possibly sit here and say that I condemn what Jalen Jones did. Never in a million years. Because Metcalf was a much bigger wide receiver than Kenny Moore is as a corner, puts him down on the ground, is standing over top of him, holding him downwards and talking crap to him and not letting him up after the play's over. And then Jalen Jones comes over to get him away from him. And then DK Metcalf wants to act all innocent. And then they only throw the flag on the guy that's trying to separate the guy that's holding his player down. Never. That was extremely stupid that was a situation in which the officials allowed for DK Metcalf to do that. And this isn't the first time DK Metcalf has been doing that. Metcalf has been doing that all year to people, and the officials do nothing about it. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, again, from the standpoint of officials and whatnot, or for the defense and everything, I don't really have any issues with anything the defense actually did in this game. I'll be honest with you. I really don't. I mean, I think that it's the defense, they were put in a lot of very unfavorable situations. And the defense was able to do some good things. So, again, I'm not mad at the defense at all. I really liked what I saw. Just offensively, that's the thing. Offensively, if you cut those turnovers in half, this is a completely different ball game. It's a completely different ball game. And people could say, oh, like those last 10 points that the Indianapolis Colts scored were just all luck points. Like, so what? Even if I cut out, I mean, if I take away the fumble, the strip sack, if I take away the strip sack from the first game, from the first one and the second one, so that first one, if the strip sack doesn't happen, Colts are likely up either 10-0 or are up 14-0 at that point. And the Steelers don't get great field position and don't score. And then, in that situation, the Colts have a much better situation. And then if you take away the fumble that they had, then and then that negates the field goal that the Steelers were able to have. This is a 20-17 ball game at that point. Like, I mean, that's what we're saying. Those crucial turnovers resulted in a lot of points for the Pittsburgh Steelers and a lot of non-points for the Indianapolis Colts. So the point swing is huge on those turnovers. If the Colts just didn't do that, this again could have been a different outcome. But which actually I want to bring it into this because I see people talking about it in the chat as well. Basically asking, are the Indianapolis Colts in trouble after what we just saw this last week? And I'm like, and I am sitting to myself, look, I know it's one thing to, obviously the Indianapolis Colts losing, we never want our Colts to lose. Of course not. Of course not. And obviously the way in which we lost definitely leaves some concern for the Indianapolis Colts. Cause I mean, again, it was so drastic. 6 turnovers. That's a lot. That's a lot. And that's obviously a concern. You clearly never want to see your team commit any turnovers, let alone 6. But the Indianapolis Colts, they had 6 turnovers in this game. They had 4 all year coming into this game. guys, this was an outlier. This really is a huge outlier. It's a huge outlier. I really, really feel that because you just look at how the Colts players are reacting to this game. You talk about Quentin Nelson, right? Um, Quentin Nelson stated after the game, I'm going to look at this, said Colts guard Quentin Nelson says losing makes you better in the long run as long as you effing learn from it. And that's what we're going to do. And you talk about something that Daniel or Stephen Holder brought up here. Said that he said, I just left the Colts locker room. There was a strange sense of calm. They know they're a good team and they're and are keeping perspective. Jonathan Taylor even stated, it doesn't feel good in the moment, but in the NFL, things happen. Sometimes these things happen. The great teams find a way to overcome this. And Stephen Holder said, my takeaway, they have 8 games of evidence to suggest this was an outlier, and that is what they chose to believe. I am inclined to agree. Because, again, that's true. I mean, again, the mindset of the Indianapolis Colts to understand we just committed 6 turnovers in one game in which the entire season we have been highly efficient. And they're choosing to say, look, we had a really bad game. This sucks. But we're going to take this and we're going to learn from this and make sure this doesn't happen again. And I mean, not to mention a couple things, right? People trying to talk about how Daniel Jones, this is the New York Daniel Jones all over again. Here we go. He has finally lost all his confidence. Even Daniel Jones saying we have all the confidence in the world that we can get this fixed up. And, people saying that, they've exposed Daniel Jones. This is what he is like, first of all, Daniel Jones has been one of the best quarterbacks this year under pressure. And yeah, it was one really bad performance, no doubt. But to immediately jump on it and say, this is it. We told you that, we told you this is who he is. Like, we can't sit here and say that. And the best part is knowing that you have a lot of opportunities to prove that this was an outlier, right? And I mean, even look at the NFL yesterday, right? The Chargers, they barely hung on against the Titans, dude. The Chargers are a good football team. We know it. They're a playoff team right now. The Vikings just beat the Lions on the road. They beat Detroit in Detroit. Are we going to say that the Lions are a bad football team because the Vikings have had their struggles? The Patriots barely hung on against the Falcons. The Broncos just beat the Texans, but barely. And I mean, the Panthers just beat the Green Bay Packers on the road. I mean, it's so crazy. I mean, again, it just goes to show you that it's not all the same. It's a bad day. It's a really bad day. A day in which it is an outlier. I really believe that. Because the attitude in which the Indianapolis Colts are willing to go about it and move forward from here says a lot about this team. And I will say this. I really felt concern that the Indianapolis Colts were going to give in at the end of that game. When the Indianapolis Colts threw or had that fumble in which they had that strip sack and they went down 27-10, I was like, oh my gosh, this is about to be the worst thing ever. Like, I was telling myself, please, Colts, don't give up. Don't give up. Show me something. Show me something that makes me think this is not that this is an outlier. And what did they do after that? They went down and scored a touchdown in 2.5 minutes. Now, again, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they obviously were playing prevent. They were not trying to stick on guys very hard. But the Colts went down and scored in 9 plays in 2.5 minutes. You forced a fumble on the next drive, and you had a chance to go down there. And then the Colts, even after throwing another interception off a bad play, you still forced the Steelers to have to punt. Then you went down there, kicked a field goal, and tried to go for an onside kick when it was a 1-score game. You had a chance. You had a chance. So that's what I'm saying, is that this team could have easily just rolled over when it was down 3 scores with only about 4.5 minutes left. But they chose not to do that. They went for it. They still tried. They had a chance. And ultimately, this team is 7-2. I don't believe that the Indianapolis Colts are in trouble. I know that after their bye week, they have a gauntlet of a schedule. But this team, they have what it takes to be able to still compete in all these games. The Indianapolis Colts still hold the lead in the AFC. They technically still have the best record in the National Football League. They technically do have the best record in the National Football League at this moment in time. So again, it is not a situation that the Indianapolis Colts need to be concerned about. Now, obviously, you have a performance like this, you got to get back to the drawing board. You have to figure out why those turnovers happened, how to fix them. And that's what's happening. So, and then in other news, and that's kind of brings it up to the point of where do the Colts go from here? Is like, guys, the objective isn't changing. The objective isn't changing. The Colts through 9 games, their first 9 games are 7-2, tied for first place in the entire NFL. How many people could possibly sit here and suggest the idea that the Colts are in trouble or that the Colts have no direction? So, I mean, it is not an issue right now. You are 7-2, and I think every single Colts fan would have taken that had, you've been told that through your first 9 games that we would be sitting tied for first place in the entire NFL in record. I think most of us would have said, that's great. Awesome. Love that. Give us more. Right? And then obviously when you look at this schedule going forward, you obviously have the Falcons coming up here in Berlin, right? Now, I will say this. You need to run the football against this Atlanta Falcons team. Atlanta does not know how to stop the run. They have got to do this. They've got to run the football against the Atlanta Falcons. We saw multiple teams this year run the football well against the Atlanta Falcons. You've got to be able to run the football against the Atlanta Falcons. And if I have to put my money on it, I would suggest that the Indianapolis Colts will probably get it fixed in this offensive line and get back to actually being able to run the football more effectively this time around. I would suggest that. And again, shout out to 220 people watching across X, YouTube, and Twitch. Be sure to like the stream wherever you're watching. Shout out to FanDuel for sponsoring this stream. And then, of course, the Colts have their bye week. You're hoping that you can be 8-2 going into your bye week, right? And then obviously you have a tough task ahead of you. You're going to be playing the Chiefs in Arrowhead. So just got out of class. What did I miss? Just talking about where the Colts go from here and everything else. So if you want to, you can rewind the stream a little bit if you need to, but it is what it is. But the Colts, they're gonna face the Chiefs after their bye. If there's one opponent that I'm glad that we're facing after a bye week where we get to prepare, it's against the Chiefs for sure. And then obviously you go back home, play the Texans November 30th at home. That's nice that the first time that you face the Texans, you're going to be at home, backing your home crowd. I mean, that'll be the first time in over a month that the Indianapolis Colts will actually be at home. Because again, we're on the road for this game, right? We're going to be traveling to Berlin to face the Falcons. Then you're getting a bye week, and then you're going on the road again to play the Chiefs. So that'll be a great game for the Colts to finally be back home. I hope that we can take advantage of that. Any update on Jalen Jones's injury at the end of the game? I did not see any. I did not see anything, but we'll have to just keep an eye out for that. Anyways, yeah, so and then the Indianapolis Colts take on the Jaguars on the road against them the next week after. That'll be a tough one. It always is. Even though the Jaguars literally just barely snuck out a win against the Las Vegas Raiders playing in Jacksonville. We all know how that is. And then the next week, you play against Seattle on the road. That will obviously be a very tough one. No doubt about that. And then you have Monday Night Football matchup between the Colts and the 49ers. That one will be at home for us. So that's good. And then the Colts play the Jags at home the next Sunday, and then finish out the season playing against the Houston Texans. The Jaden Daniels injury last night. Yeah, that was crazy, dude. So if I'm being conservative on this, okay, let's just say I'm being conservative with this. Let's say the Colts beat the Falcons, okay, and they go 8-2 going into their bye, and then they're the last 7 games, right? I think there is legitimately 3 games that we can win, okay? I think that we can win all of our home games. I really do believe that. I think we can beat the Texans at home. I do believe that we can beat the 49ers at home. And then I believe that we can beat the Jaguars at home. Okay. So even if the Colts do fall off, as they would say, then that will be a situation where the Colts would be 11-6 going into the playoffs. And then that most likely would secure you the division. Likely. I mean, it's possible. I'm not 100% sure, but the Colts will need to, it'll really, a lot of it will just depend on the division record for the Jaguars. But if you can be 11-6, you are going to at minimum be the 5th seed. You're going to at minimum be the 5th seed. So there's playoffs right there. Okay. So again, where are we going from here? Colts just got to keep playing their brand of football, man. They just can't turn the ball over like they did Sunday. If you can keep the turnovers off of that and not worry about it as much, then you'll be fine. This is a Colts team that can handle it. Okay. So I feel that we will definitely figure it out. Oh my God, Cody. Sent me an absolute paragraph. But yeah, so I do want to talk a little bit, guys, about the trade deadline coming up here. Obviously, trade deadline ends tomorrow at 4 p.m. So the Colts have from now until then to make a move happen. So just over 24 hours. We just saw earlier this morning, Jalen Phillips was traded to the Philadelphia Eagles this morning. Which again is so crazy at the fact that, like, how do the Eagles get all these people, dude? Like, it's so crazy because Philly just, it seems like every single freaking year for like 3 years keeps getting some of the top names in all of free agency and trade stuff. Insane the way they operate. Howie Roseman is a freaking genius. I don't know what he does. I don't know how he does it, but my God, can he bring people in, man? It's insane what he has done. Even just in the last week. I mean, he's brought in Jair Alexander for practically nothing. And I mean, regardless if Jair Alexander is even a good player anymore, it still is a amazing thing to do to shore up that defense. And then they brought in another wide receiver. I can't even remember who it is. And then you also bring in Jalen Phillips. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. And of course, when we talk about, and then we talk about who else is available, right? Excuse me. Sorry. Anyways, so looking at the rest of this, who else would the Colts be looking for? Listen, I watched the Bengals game yesterday. I was praying that they would lose that game. And they obviously lost it in dramatic fashion, of course. Hendrickson obviously did not play in that game. I mean, listen, guys, I will admit, I think that it's a long shot that the Indianapolis Colts are able to make a big trade, but I'm holding out. And I don't know. And I know this comment gets brought up. Yes, you're absolutely right. The cap is low on us right now, for sure. But you got to remember, if you can trade pieces away, you're creating more cap space in that regard, to open up for more people coming in. And you can always manipulate the salary cap. Like that's obvious. But yeah, I would love to hear some names that you guys think the Indianapolis Colts might target. Some names I've been hearing about is Will McDonald. That may not cost you a lot, but definitely could be a good player for you. And obviously Hendrickson's pipe dream, but it could happen. What other edge guys are there? Well, yeah, I know Crosby, but I doubt that Crosby wants to leave the Raiders, man. I kind of want to listen to Big Q talk about this as well. I kind of want to share this. I'll share this with you guys and see if we can get this working. Hold on a second. Careful now, Derek. Sorry, guys. My stuff is everywhere. Hard to do this stuff. Let's get this audio fixed. Probably won't be on this stream for too much longer, guys. Gonna make some videos throughout the evening, throughout the day, but this will probably be the only stream today for sure. But let's this is from Jake Arthur, so let's hear what Big Q has to say.
Listen, I know what your standards are. Just collectively as a group, you guys play so well this year. But what do you think about? Was this a step back? Was this a blip? What do you think?
I think losing is part of life, and individually as a team, and we just need to get better and learn from the game. And losing makes you better in the long run, as long as you as long as you learn from it, and that's what we're gonna do. I think our preparation has been really good throughout the whole entire year, and there's nothing I would change that we did during the week. Game plan's good and everything. We just got to go out there and execute better. And hats off to the Steelers. They played a great game defensively.
Does it feel like you played 8 games and performed well offensively? That doesn't seem like a fluke, I guess. I mean, that's something you guys can kind of lean on, I guess.
I don't know. I think we just try to be our best every day. Guys care about each other, and they play for each other. They come to work for each other and grind for each other. And love the guys on this team, love our coaches, and we'll be back next week. Next week's the most important week. It's the next opportunity, and we're looking forward to it.
What do you think led to some of the just success of their defensive line today with some of the pass rush?
I don't know. I got to watch the film.
Q, I know Colts fans not used to seeing you guys, not just the issues with the O-line, but just the penalties and just stuff that we're not used to seeing. Take us through the level of just far as what was it the Steelers were doing that was causing some problems for you guys?
I think a lot of the times we beat ourselves today with the penalties. That's definitely on us. And they have great players on their front too. So credit to them. They get paid too to play this game, and they have great players who can make plays. And I don't really know. I got to watch the film to really dissect it. So yeah.
Is the best medicine for y'all? I mean, I guess learn from this, but focus on moving on afterwards after what took place here today.
Yep. Just learn from the film, get better, come back to work. We'll be pissed off, and like I said, losing is part of life, and it makes you better as long as you learn from it and you work hard.
Talking about, talking about how connected this team is, how important is that, to build off of a loss, to learn and grow from a loss?
It's very important.
This is a team that hasn't played from behind a whole lot this year. I know that's a good thing. What did you notice about this team when you guys got down behind 2 scores going into halftime there, and how you guys came out in the second half?
I just think we beat ourselves a lot today. I don't think we ever gave up. We fought really hard coming from behind, cut it to 7 at the end of the game, with a chance to recover the onside and a Hail Mary. There was no quit in this group, in this offense. Things didn't go our way today, but like I said, we'll watch the film, we'll learn from it, and we'll get better. I'm thankful for all the wins we have. I'm thankful for the losses because it makes us better.
So big points there. Him talking about how, again, it's, you watch the film, you learn from it, you play pissed off, you work hard, and, you get better. That's a great way to look at it. And, again, talking about how there's no quit in this team. I mean, again, it's like what the guys were saying was, again, there's a sense of calm when it comes to this team right now. And the fact that, they're not going to hang their heads on this. Obviously, it sucks to lose a game like this. You never want to lose a game, let alone lose a game like this. But again, you talk about just being able to, go out and you learn from this game just like any other, so I love that from Big Q. So it is what it is. But yeah, again, to end this stream here for a minute, but yeah, I mean, as far as I don't know what other names we're gonna get out of this. I'm definitely going to be around here in the next 24 hours to, hopefully hear the news that the Indianapolis Colts make some kind of move. It is what it is. It'll be interesting to see how this team does and how and if Ballard's going to make some kind of move to be able to handle this. Who knows? Who knows how it's going to go? But yeah, I see all the names that you guys are bringing out, and I've heard most of those names. Again, it's just going to take 2 to tango. It takes 2 to tango. I mean, who freaking knows? Because honestly, the Jalen Phillips news is kind of one of the bigger moves that has been made around this trade deadline situation so far. And obviously we know things not going very well for Miami this year. And, we knew things were going to change because they got a new GM and they're going to have to get a new GM and things are moving fluidly. But obviously the rest of the teams, you're talking about the Jets, you're talking about the Bengals, you're talking about the Saints, those types of teams that are clearly, and even the Titans, you talk about teams that are clearly their seasons are just over and they're not, even if they go on insane streaks, the likelihood of them being able to have any sort of success is just not visible at this point. But you never know, you don't know how people are going to react to these types of performances and these types of records. And if they want to get rid of stud players, I mean, again, you don't want to always get rid of your star pupils that are on your team currently, but it is what it is. So we will just have to see what the Indianapolis Colts will be able to do. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Again, shout out to all of you for tuning into this stream. I might do a couple more of these going forward. Honestly, I kind of enjoy the morning streams. Don't get to do these very often, obviously. Not currently at work right now because of my surgery, but able to do this with you guys today. So thank you guys again so much for tuning in, hanging out with me, and having a great conversation. Shout out to FanDuel for sponsoring. But that'll do for this one. Thank you guys again so much. Keep up with all of our videos. Make sure to hit that notification bell button so you don't miss whenever we upload. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, go Colts.